Hey, I'm trying to get up. Hi, this is G My family. This is about the State Cup reunion. Power to the people. Yeah.
Control room, who's on FaceTime? Okay, so give me 1 second. Before I go over here, Randy, hold tight 1 second. I'm gonna get a final comment from Fred in April because we need to pull up Congressman Troy Carter. We got a number of different CDC members going to be coming on, I'm gonna start with you, April. Again, we are now at about 82,000 folks who are now watching live, and what all this in the chat is, what do you want us to do? They're asking, what do you want us to do? Yeah. Call your congressman and tell them don't cut Medicaid. Call them and tell them don't cut education. Reach out to your local CLC, the labor council in your area. Find out what you can go out to do, not just to support workers, but support community. And join mailing lists, sign up for text threads. I guarantee you we are going to see more ways for people to take action roll out over the coming weeks and months. And we just need people to stay present and stay vigilant. And most of all, stay hopeful. And as Becky said, we are not powerless, right? We have power. And that is exactly what they are afraid of. She asked the question, who stands to lose the most? Ask yourself the question, who stands to gain? And it is not everyday working people in America that stands to gain, right? It is the billionaires, the oligarchs that is trying to wrestle every bit of the resource of our country for themselves. And we have to put a stop to it. April Barrett, we still appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Fred? Fred, go ahead. Your final comment.
Oh, I'm sorry. I lost my, I lost for a minute. But look, I want people to really, really utilize this moment to go back to what April said. This is an opportunity for us not to fight for a draw, to come out to the America that before Donald Trump. But this is an opportunity as we get into this fight together, all of us, opportunity to fight for the America that we want to have, for an America that is equal to all of its citizens, for an America that respects people. We have to make sure that this moment is not lost with us not being able to take advantage, to unify, to come together as a people, come together as workers, come together as a community, and make sure that we never go back here again. We have to fight for the America that the American people deserve. An America that's going to educate their children, that's going to offer opportunities to its citizens, and America that's going to deliver on the promises of democracy. We need to use this moment to make sure that we fight for a victory.
All right, Fred, we're still appreciative. Thanks a bunch. Most really pulling up Congressman Troy Carter in a moment, of course, from New Orleans. And let me also say, again, so we're up to 86,000. I told folks I wanted to hit 100,000, so we're on our way. So y'all spread the message. And while you're there, subscribe to our channel so you can be informed, because we do this every single day. We've been doing it for the last 6.5 years. We're going to continue. We're going to go with you. How are you talking to the family members? Because the workers are one thing. But to me, this is a moment where those wives, husbands, partners, children should also be letting folks know that when you, and I've seen some of those videos, that when you attack my dad, you attack my mom, you're actually impacting whether I can go to college. You're impacting my life as well. Yeah. And so, how are y'all communicating that the families at work?
Well, this Elon Musk and Trump, they're such hypocritical villains. They make it really, really easy to talk to children. It's really easy to say, here's the richest man in the world going after regular working people. And because of that, these critical services aren't being done that the American people rely on, that veterans are being hurt, and that regular middle-class people don't have the jobs that they need to be able to provide for their families. And so what is that? And kids get that. They understand. That means they're not able to feed their families. They're not able to think about going on a vacation. They're not allowed to. They're not going to be able to go to summer camp this year. All those kinds of things. And I've been having those conversations with my kids, and I know all our members have been as well.
Is Congressman Troy Carter ready? All right, Congressman Troy Carter from New Orleans, glad to have you here. Congressman, there are so many people who are scared to death about what's going on. But the thing is, we kept telling folks, Axiom did a story in 2020, one of my Project 2025. We spent lots of time explaining to people that this is real. When I was in San Francisco, the brother stopped me at the NBA All-Star game. He's like, well, he said, but we didn't think they were actually going to do it. And I literally said, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. They said they were going to do it. And so this is a wake-up call for a lot of people. And look, in your state, and I covered extensively, there was too many black folks who sat at home and did not vote in the last state election that elected Jeff Landry. They elected a MAGA attorney general, and now people are saying, I can't believe they're doing this. But this is what happens when too many of our people sit at home and do not participate in the electoral process.
I voted.
Congressman?
Yes.
Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You're absolutely spot on. Elections have consequences.
Let's go back
And
and
when
vote for
people
the
stay home,
primaries too, back
they
then.
don't participate in the process.
Keep
You
the
just
fucking
voted for
Republicans
the
off the
worst person
Congress.
on the ballot. And now here we are in real time dealing with the work of Project 2025 that we traveled the country, throughout the state of Louisiana, all over the country, telling people that this was the plan. And for Trump to say during the campaign, he never heard of Project 2025. He didn't know anything about it. He certainly has been a quick study, because now you see the execution and implementation of every part of Project 2025 unfolding itself right before our very eyes. This is a president who said, if elected, on day one, the price of eggs would go down. On day one, the price of groceries would go down. On day one, we would not have a war in Ukraine. Not only has the price of eggs increased, not only has grocery prices increased, the war in Ukraine has gotten worse. To watch a Democratic president nearly pledge allegiance to a dictator, to Vladimir Putin, who has no use for America or Americans. We have to wake up. We are looking at the demise of our democracy happening to us in real time. We must push back. We
Hey, look,
must
they're finding when this shit
line up.
happens.
We must be present. We
It'll
must
be
be vigilant.
shit.
I'm telling you, as the first
I
vice
tell
chair
you,
of the Congressional
it's
Black
gonna happen.
Caucus, that we are not going anywhere. That we're going to continue to fight. We're going to stand up to this
I'm
president.
not taking on the way about it. I have a storm.
Unelected billionaire Elon Musk, who
And it might be a tornado
purchased.
tomorrow.
Well, guess what, Mr. Musk? We are not an etch-a-sketch game that you can just scribble around and shake up when you made a mistake. These are people's lives. This is our democracy. This is our economy. These are American people. And we are not going to sit back and let you unilaterally dismantle. In Louisiana, we have some 20,000 federal employees. The National Finance Center, which is in my district, is the housing, the location where some 700 federal employees' payroll is processed. Yet, we're finding Mr. Musk wanting to cut those very vital services, cutting them out. In fact, the person that is my guest, Ms. Shantae Powell, is a recently fired employee of the National Finance Center because she was a probationary employee, and they used that loophole to get rid of her. But when I tell you what her job task was, her task was to be an enforcer and an auditor to root out fraud, waste, and abuse. So the question that begs to be answered is, if your intent is to root out fraud, waste, and abuse, why would you fire the auditors who are in fact doing that? Her assignment prior to that was she worked with the Office of Inspector General. Once again, an agency that is tasked with rooting out fraud, waste, and abuse. They saved the taxpayers $100 billion last year. So why would you get rid of that office? So this notion that you're doing it for good government, that you're doing it because you want to rid us of fraud, waste, and abuse is a farce. It's a red herring. They're doing something else. Musk is lining his pockets and continue to get federal contracts worth billions of dollars.
Congressman, I got to ask you this here. We just saw an election where Vice President Kamala Harris, President Biden, numerous Democrats talked about that Donald Trump was a threat to democracy. You had J.D. Vance, who once said he was Hitler. And here's the issue that I have. So, first, when he speaks tonight, I'm not carrying him live. I don't call him president. I call him the twice impeached, criminally convicted felon commander-in-chief because he doesn't respect the office. And I can't use that title. But I just have a fundamental problem with, frankly, with a number of members of your party choosing to go to this speech, treating it like it's normal. And I understand folks who say we have a responsibility. But for me, if I'm going to sit in that chamber, I'm going to turn my back to him. Or I'm going to walk out. He should be talking to empty seats on one side. And so how on one hand can we normalize this individual, but then say what's happening is not normal? What do you say to the folks who are watching and listening who have a problem with that?
Well, let me tell you, and I got a different spin on that, and I respect and appreciate what you're saying. But here's the spin that I, as well as others who are going to sit in that chamber. The people of Louisiana gave me a seat in Congress to show up and to do my job. And I'm not going to let Trump or Elon Musk or anybody run me away. I'm not going to stand up for him. I'm not going to clap for him. But I'm not going to be run away by him or his ill-fated threat to American people. I am here to fight for justice, to fight for democracy, to fight for the people that sent me to Washington. And Trump or no one else is going to take the seat away in the United States House of Representatives that the people gave to me. And I'm going to go there with my righteous indignation to challenge this president and to challenge Mr. Musk and to challenge my Republican cohorts to do the right thing. And they will not cause me to run, to flee, or to give up the responsibility and the privilege that the American people, and more specifically the people of Louisiana, have given me to fight for them. Yes, I'm going to be on that floor, and I'm going to fight for the people, and I'm going to stand in front of this president and defy the lies that he intends to tell.
Well, I'll say this here. When Donald Trump came to the National Association of Black Journalists, I did MSNBC, and I said, if the people in that panel don't correct him when he's lying, y'all gonna hear somebody from the audience saying you lying. And then when it actually happened, people said, who was that talking? And he was referring to, I said, he was talking to me on the front row. So, look, the Republicans stood up and said, you lied to Obama. We saw how they acted with Biden, and I hope, we know he gonna lie. So I hope when he starts lying, y'all are real audible and letting folks know he's lying.
Brother, you can count on us. You can count on us. Wait a minute. You can count on us doing the right thing.
All right, well, I appreciate that. I appreciate that sign. And whoever made the sign was smart, because I noticed that's a black and gold sign, right?
It's blue and gold, man.
No. That look black and gold.
But I noticed you are wearing red and white.
No, let me help you out here, Congressman. I know you're a Kappa, but these colors, these are my high school colors. Jack Yates High School in Houston, crimson and gold. That's the colors of my show. Just so you know.
Crimson and cream, and I respect you for having the wisdom to choose good colors.
The only crimson and cream I go with is Delta Sigma Theta. All right, Congressman, I appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
God bless you, my brother. Keep doing great work, man. We're proud of you.
I appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Randy over here, like, I don't know what the hell I just walked in. If you know about Divine Nine? Yeah, he don't know. You don't know. Randy, we're going to give you a quick lesson a little bit later. Becky, Congress was talking about fight. And the thing there, that's what people want to see. And I'm telling you, they don't want to see the go along, get along. They want to see folks standing up, fighting, and demanding change. And I hear them everywhere I go.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what we're saying to folks, too. It's not only, yes, we want to see that from our elected members of Congress and other elected officials, not just Congress. One of the things that we know from what this president has done and what he has said in implementing Project 2025 is that we have to, in this moment, we have to make sure that every elected official, from school boards to state legislatures to governor's offices, we need to use this moment to increase the rights of students and people from marginalized communities. We need to increase union rights. That's what we need to be doing right now. So everyone in an elected position has a role to play. And as people, we have to remember that power. But one thing I want to emphasize that April said earlier, this is so important, is people have to believe what we do. That plausibility of the
Who got Wendy?
possible.
got me some drink. You got your
Where
drink?
they have the president, they bought the presidency and the House and the Senate and the federal court, the highest court.
God damn, you gotta go that bad?
Power as people to not only speak up,
She'll knock
but
you.
to hold account.
I don't know. She must have to go real bad.
When I said,
Excuse me, y'all. I didn't mean to laugh.
turn the networks on.
This is G-Mon Ferry, y'all. I want y'all to see this. Listen. We need to stop the fucking orange man, Trump, and Musk. Excuse my language.
Has been put in the group family chat. I am not lying. I've had 25, 30 people hit me saying, my grandmama sent me saying, we gotta watch the show. I was chatting with actress Robin Lee, who now lives in Paris. She was like, you should have put our family chat. And I literally said, our goal, we want to hit 100,000. So everybody who's watching understand, we're now sitting at 103,000 folks who are watching live podcast. And again, they want to know, what to do. Randy, that particular point, folks, this is a moment where you have to fight. They hold the power for 4 years. We know at least 2 years. Then what happens in the midterms. And so the only way people can really step up is they have to express their outrage to what is going on.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I agree with the earlier point that you made, which is we have to be fighting
Yeah.
right now. It's
Your
not
mom can't help you. She in pain.
congressional thing. It's not next presidential. We have to put the brakes on them right now.
And don't you fall asleep. You got a trash can you gotta take out.
We don't know what our country looks like if we don't stop things right now. And so I think we have to.
Before you fall asleep, take that trash can out.
To educate people on the facts. And the thing is, they've given us
The-
facts.
listen.
People just don't know them as well. They kind of have a
That
sense of
ain't
what
the
side
matter.
they're on.
I wasn't
They have a
demanding.
feeling that folks on the left
I wasn't
have
demanding. I was
waking up,
telling you.
people, minorities recognized are waking up and getting.
Oh, made no
But I
sense.
think we also have to have.
You had to go back from that bad.
is to really convince these
I ain't mean it, y'all. I'm on live. I'm talking to y'all about some bad.
some Republicans in Congress that
Lord
just
have
don't
mercy.
want to be associated with the things that Trump has. Because we need them to kind of
Lord.
switch sides, at least with their voting, if not their,
That's
choosing
funny. I wish I
parties or
record
something.
that.
Because if we don't have a check on this president who is violating the Constitution 6 days a Sunday, we need folks in Congress to do something. And so we got to educate. Got to educate people. Change. The president's polling is in the going down like crazy. Thank God. But we need more of that, and we do need to have a centrist strategy so that we can bring some people on our side and vote against this president and hold him accountable for all the terrible things that he's doing to this country right now.
All right, then. Let's give it up, y'all, for Randy Irwin, National President, the National Federation of Federal Employees, Becky Pringle, President, National Education Association. I appreciate both of y'all being on the show. Thanks a lot.
Thank you for having
Thank you
me.
very much. Folks, we'll do a changeover. Y'all can go ahead and grab one of the mics. Go ahead, don't worry about it, doctors. We do TV a little bit different. Y'all go ahead. I've been talking about the economic impact that MAGA wants to defund Black America. And what we're seeing, now walk in front of the camera now. Now, you're going to do this, you need to walk behind me, don't walk in front of the camera. And so I've talked about MAGA wants to defund Black America. And what we are seeing those attempts. And so when we talk about what's happening economically in this country, that thing is real. I'm going to bring up several of our folks in just a second. Let me just remind folks, we want y'all to be sure to support us by clicking subscribe on our YouTube channel. Also, we want you to support us by joining our Bring the Funk fan club. Listen, our fan base, you have made this possible. Your contributions made this possible. More than $35,000 since we launched 6.5 years ago. Of course, if you want to contribute to our fan club, the goal is to get 20,000 of our fans on average contributing $50 each a year. That's $4.19 a month, 13 cents a day. You want to contribute via Cash App? Here's the Cash App right here. This is the QR code, the Stripe QR code. So you could just click that. If you're listening, go to blackstarnetwork.com. And that's the Cash App. You can see him checking money orders to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. PayPal is paypal.me/rmartinunfiltered. Venmo is venmo.com/rmunfiltered. Zelle, Roland at RolandSMartin.com, Roland at RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Of course, download the Black Star Network app, Apple phone, Android phone, Apple TV, Android TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, Xbox One, Samsung Smart TV. And if y'all want to get the shirt I'm wearing, don't blame me. I voted for the black woman. And of course, our other shirt, which is hashtag, we tried to tell you, FAFO 2025. Go to RolandMartin.creator-spring.com, RolandMartin.creator-spring.com, and go to the BlackStarNetwork.com. All right, folks, let's talk about economics. This is a huge issue. You see the stock market has been tanking today because of Trump's announcement regarding tariffs against Canada and Mexico. And no shock, his
Canada
folks
too.
already
Canada
walking
must
back
cut off
saying
electric.
he may
Cut
pull
the
those
crap.
back tomorrow. Well, that's how stupid you are when you do those things, because it's going to be a counter reaction. Not only that, we saw projections of a 3% increase in our GDP prior to when Biden and Harris was there. Well, because of the actions of the past month, now the Atlanta Federal Reserve is suggesting a negative 2.5% when it comes to the GDP. All of this, though, impacts us. We've got boycotts against Target, against other companies. That's parents of Jamal Bryant's Target Fast begins tomorrow. They've already got more than 100,000 people signed up for that. All these things are happening. And so how do we confront what's happening among African Americans and the changes that are being made? And so we want to bring in our panel right now. Joining us right now virtually, always glad to have them, is first and foremost, we've got Alfonso David, President and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum. We have, of course, Morgan Harper. Morgan is the Director of Policy and Advocacy for the American Economic Liberties Project. Getting mic'd up in the studio is Ron Busby, Sr., President and CEO, U.S. Black Chambers, Inc. We also have Ryan Wilson, who's founder of The Gathering Spot. Glad to have all of y'all here. Of course, we also have Congressman Hank Johnson of Georgia. Congressman, I'm going to go to you first, and that is when we talk about, again, economics. I said this early on, that if you look at what they are doing, they are trying to attack the civil rights and the economic rights infrastructure that will have a devastating impact among African Americans economically. If we start losing last year, $10 billion in federal contracts, it wasn't 2%, but it was the most ever. When you look at federal contracts, state contracts, county contracts, city contracts, school district contracts, the attack on supply diversity in corporate America, we could very well be looking at the losses of several $billions to Black America as a result of Donald Trump, Elon Musk, and MAGA.
Well, thanks for having me on, Roland, and you're exactly right. The bipartisan infrastructure deal threw out $1.1 trillion into the economy. Black firms have always struggled to get a piece of that money. The Inflation Reduction Act pumped an additional billions of dollars into the economy. That money is being spent, is being allocated to businesses across the land, including those owned by Black Americans. And we may not have gotten our fair share, but we were getting something. But when Trump came into office, Roland, of course, the first thing he did was to impound monies that had already been authorized and appropriated by Congress. He just stopped the spending and left a lot of firms that had already expended money and were getting reimbursed with monies that he impounded. So it has been a real hardship for many businesses across America, particularly African-American owned businesses. And then on top of that, federal jobs have been something that Black Americans have gravitated to, and it has produced generations of economic viability. About 20% of the people who work for the federal government are Black. We are 13% of the population, but right at about 20% of the employees of the federal government. And so we're getting hurt there with the firings, with the mass firings that have taken place throughout the federal government. And, it's not just Black people who are suffering economically now. We're seeing the markets starting to react to what is happening out there with the deportations, with the tariffs, prices going up. The economy, the stock market is tanking because there's no predictability now in terms of what will be happening tomorrow. And so 2 successive quarters of negative GDP growth is what is a recession. And that is what we're headed to in this country based on Donald Trump's policies.
All right, Congressman Hank Johnson, certainly glad to have you join us for this conversation. And it's clear our people, want to hear what to do because we're now at 114,000. So, Congressman, we certainly appreciate it. Thank you so very much. I want to go to Alfonso David. No, Alfonso, I know you have a heart out. This is real, and I was warning people during the election, folks, don't play with this. This is why you can't stay at home, and we're already seeing it. They are going after everything civil and economic that has impacted Black people, and we need to understand that it's real. It's happening. Corporate America, they're buckling, and so we've got to put pressure on them to say, don't you dare fall back because you still want our money.
Roland, you're exactly right. And I think one of the things that we have to remember is that there are attacks on entrepreneurship. There are attacks on education. There are attacks on employment. And all of those attacks are coordinated. There is a coordinated strategy that's being designed to dismantle the pathways to economic mobility and self-determination for Black communities. These efforts are deeply interconnected. So if you lose your job, and the federal employees are now being laid off, if you lose your job, it makes it that much more difficult for you to get to that place of economic mobility. When we dismantle our education system, and we know that it's fractured as is, But when we dismantle our education system, guess who's going to suffer the most? Black and brown people. When we talk about entrepreneurship, we know that a small business, 20% of small businesses close after the first year. But if you're a black business, 80% of those businesses close within the first year. We need to make sure that we are investing in black businesses. We have to make sure that we're supporting black media, such as what you're doing here, Roland, supporting Essence, supporting what Angela Rye is doing. We need to make sure that we hold elected officials accountable at the local and state level as well. This is just not a federal game. What's happening at the federal level is disproportionately impacting black people, and we have to make sure that we are using our voices. We are picking up the phone to call the federal officials, but we're also doing the same thing for our local elected officials, because we have power, and we have to make sure that we use it. And if we are not supporting black and brown businesses, if we're not supporting black media, if we're not reaching out to our local, state, and federal officials, we will ultimately suffer the brunt of these actions. And as you know, Roland, I had the privilege of representing the Fairless Fund in federal court. This is two black women started a venture capital firm to try to help other businesses. And they were sued for trying to provide grants to other black women. They are directly coming for black communities and our ability to engage in self-help. And this is a huge problem. You have trillions of dollars that are being invested in other companies, and black people get less than 1% of those investments, less than 1%. And despite that disparity, they're still suing these companies. They're still suing these charitable organizations who are looking to address that disparity. So we have to engage. We have to support the black infrastructure, as I call it, of organizations, of businesses, of media that are looking to actually push us forward in terms of economic mobility and self-determination.
In terms of Black Economic Forum, then what is happening? And I'm going to keep this to everybody, because what people want to know is, what do we do? What is black leadership doing? The troops are saying we're looking for the plan from our generals. Where do we start?
Yeah, so as you know, I run the Global Black Economic Forum, and we are working with small businesses around the country. One of our partners is New Voices Foundation. They work with more than 30,000 businesses to make sure that they are scaling their businesses. We need you all to support those businesses. When we invest in those small businesses, we need to make sure the community is doing so as well, whether it be Mael or Honeypot. We need to make sure you are supporting those businesses to make sure that they grow when we are investing in them as well. Second, at the Global Black Economic Forum, we have a series of panels and interactive activations, I should say, at the Essence Festival of Culture. It's the largest festival in the country. We need folks to use that as an opportunity to mobilize. It's in July of this year. We need everyone to come out and mobilize. Why? We will have resources, we will have interactive panels, we will have information for the black community so that we can mobilize for the fight going forward. Because we can't just simply sit back as we are being attacked. We have to make sure that we take action. We have to make sure that we're engaging. And again, it's not just simply supporting black and brown businesses and media, it's also taking those individual steps to make sure that we are using our pocketbooks to make sure that we are communicating our values.
Okay, Alfonso David, I appreciate it, Alfonso. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Roland.
Morgan, I want to go to you. You're an economist. You look at these numbers, and all we heard were Republicans criticizing the Biden-Harris economy for all of that whining and complaining. I understand inflation, price of eggs, things like that, but it was a damn good economy that recovered after the mess that Trump left. 1 month in, he's already destroying a damn good economy.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the most critical things to be discussing right now is what is the state of the economy? How good is it? How do we know? And you're exactly right, Roland, that a lot of the numbers that are kind of like the top line numbers, and we discussed this throughout last year, and certainly leading up to November, if we look at unemployment and overall economic growth, we're in the declining inflation rate, we're suggesting positive indicators. But I think something that, we've also talked about since November is that some of those numbers aren't fully capturing the economic picture of, the entire country and certainly not the entire Black community. And those are things like fuel prices and food prices like eggs that's getting so much attention right now. So when we talk about, what kind of plan we need going forward, I do think it's important that we're making sure we're getting the perspectives of everyone's experiences in the economy. And right now, you're right that, some of the indicators already since we've had the inauguration are not positive for us on the cost of living in particular, which was the main factor that a lot of people cited as to why they wanted to change. Whether or not that was a well-informed position or not, that was one of the reasons why people said they supported a change in administration. So, it's important right now, in my opinion, to be very direct and specific about what isn't working in our economic lives. We've already talked about eggs and food, but utilities is another area that is certainly something that I'm hearing a lot from folks in Columbus, to just increase the price of utilities and healthcare. If we're talking about, and I know your prior the congressman was talking about DOGE and efforts to reduce government spending, the biggest source of government spending is healthcare, and we have not heard any plans about how to reduce the cost of healthcare from this administration. But that certainly are things that we could do. There are very clear policies that would do something about it, and we need to make sure that our leaders in Congress and at every level of government completely agree with that, are aware of what those levers are to try to make these moves and reduce the cost of living, and also call the bluff of an administration that said it, intended to be populist, that was going to try to address the cost of living, but we haven't seen any evidence of that to date.
From the blues, I turn my microphone off. Ron, I want to go to you here. And one of the things that we're seeing, and I was telling somebody this just last night. We were having a conversation because a person said, hey, I'm not sure if, these boycotts are working. And I said, no, I disagree. Because what you're seeing is, you're seeing in this moment where people understand the power of the collective. And you're seeing, I got a call today of someone talking about how they're putting together a website of all the Black businesses that have businesses in Target. They have a one-stop shop. What's happening with targetfast.org, which starts tomorrow with Pastor Jamal Bryant. And so what we are seeing Black folks say, no, we're going to be more deliberate in supporting Black-owned businesses. They recognize what's going on right now.
In our chance to go around the country and talk to Black-owned businesses and consumers, they say, we voted unsuccessfully, but we came out in mass. Policy. We have created policies that have moved our communities forward. One of the panelists before talked about the attack, but it's really an attack on the middle class. And when you start talking about education and housing and business, that are the safeguards for Black people to create that middle class for us. I have Republican friends, and they're saying, well, Ron, the last thing you guys have is your spend power. So the U.S. Black Chamber, after the murder of George Floyd, created the Buy Black platform, because at that point, we were all looking at the community saying, what should we do? What can we do? And it was, well, we'll do banking Black, or we'll spend Black. But we didn't really have a tool to be able to tell people, here's where you go.
Right.
And so Jamal Bryant asked us to participate in the FAST Target, to be able to say, hey, we're going to fast from Target, but at the same time, we are going to be intentional about our spend. And the U.S. Black Chamber was that organization that created that platform for Black-owned businesses and Black consumers to come together. Now we have a tracker that will be able to tell you how much money you're actually spending day to day with Black firms. There are more than 100,000 people that have signed up.
Things I also want our people to understand, because I get this a whole lot. I had someone say, well, that's only 100,000. I said, well, first of all, 100,000 is better than 90. which is better than 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 10. And I said, you have to start somewhere. And I said, so imagine if you're starting this on tomorrow with 110, 115,000 people, and then now you build from there. That's what the whole point is. Ryan, you understand that when we talk about the gathering spot. It just drives me crazy when too many of our folk want to act, well, we should have more. And I'm like, listen, I don't talk about the folk who don't.
I know who this is. This is Roland Martin. He's on YouTube. Y'all want to find out what's going on? Go see. It's what is that? Well, it's Roland Martin. Let's go. Roland Martin. He's on YouTube. It's about the State Union. Until then, I'll see y'all later. Y'all be safe out there. The war is crazy right now.
Is mandatory at this point.
See everybody.
To get to the place that you want to go to. So I'm uncomfortable, like a lot of folks, but at the